All right, with this woman, I feel like you can tell exactly what kind of energy she's going to be bringing. Everything about her appearance just says, like, I am tough and I'm going to tell you how it is. Like, look at her tattoos, the backwoods cap. Let's find out what she's got to say.
Facts, my dude. I am a f***ing I would be terrible in the dating scene. Mostly because I think that I'm better than most of the men that I speak to, so... Including you, actually. But I still do agree with that. Like, thank God I wouldn't stand a chance out there. Y'all are too much of pussies, to be honest.
I'm not tough enough. I think this woman would consider me a pussy. She'd be like, what, you talk for a living? You have emotions?
Full disclosure, she reminds me so much of one of my exes. Historically speaking, I've actually been drawn to this kind of energy because this kind of challenge to me is so deliciously charming. I'm not saying it's healthy, but like, it's just a shit test that I know I will pass. If this like bothers someone and they feel like they're being kind of attacked, she wants it to have that effect. That's the whole point of this.
Interesting. So you kind of take it as like a shit test or a challenge even. All right, you've got a woman who's this hard. Yeah. I'm going to rise to the occasion and I'm going to be the man to soften her. And that's going to demonstrate how big my masculinity is. A lot of guys are attracted to women like this because they have fantasy of being, dominated or cuckolded or whatever like that. But that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about like, this woman thinks she's going to out-masculine me. Oh boy, let's get into it. Let's throw down. Yep. Whereas my response to a woman like this is walk away, never look back. Like, I don't find... Like, to me, there's not even like a weird, kinky part of me, like kind of challenge. Like, I'm just like, God, what an unpleasant human being. There's no femininity. I think she's attractive enough, like, but once she starts speaking and like the first thing she says is like swear words, I'm like, nope, I'm attracted to kindness. I'm attracted to softness, this artificial hair, this artificial appearance, all these tattoos and things like that, and that hard way of being. I'm like, right, no, I'm happy to fail your challenge.
There's something called Aposematism. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Aposematism is essentially the advertising of oneself as a poisonous animal. You see snakes or frogs or bugs that make themselves really bright colors or really spiky or like all kinds of crazy patterns. It's terrible camouflage. It's essentially saying, don't fuck with me because I will hurt you. And some animals have evolved to look that way even though they're not poisonous. So they're kind of free riding off of the efficacy of that. And so it's this constant maneuvering of how effective is it really. And some people, Gadsad being one of them, have posited that people who dye their hair and cover themselves in tattoos and make themselves look really hard, it's a form of like threat offering in a sense. It's a form of Aposematism saying like, don't mess with me even if I'm technically harmless. I want you to think I'm not harmless.
With this particular woman, you wonder then, is this one big giant like shit test? She's like, hey, like, I'm only gonna feel safe with a man of supreme masculinity, and I don't want to waste my time with men who are really weak and beta and feminine and a bunch of pussies. Like, I need a man's man. And so I'm going to act really strong, really tough, really unpleasant, really masculine as a way of weeding out all those weak men so that only those men who can rise to my standards are going to even approach me and contact me. And from that perspective, that's not a completely irrational thing to do. Before we continue, I'm pleased to announce that this video was made in collaboration with Yours app, the fastest growing mindfulness app on the market. It's a freemium product, which means that right now you can click on the link in the description box below and see a sample of what's on offer. Let me tell you about how I've been using the yoga instruction portion of the app. Matt doesn't need yoga instruction. He's worked in yoga studios, so he knows all the poses, but I still need somebody to tell me what to do. The yoga instruction on Yours app has been a complete lifesaver for me because I couldn't stand doing the yoga classes on YouTube, because I don't want to hear ads while I'm trying to relax or have some chirpy person tell me to hit the notification bell. The classes on Yours app aren't like that. They aren't all high energy and annoying. It's relaxing. It's really, really high quality. They have so many classes as well. They've got short ones, long ones for beginners, for advanced, ones that focus on body flexibility, others on breathing. They've got this huge catalog, but if I'm honest, I've really just been focusing on this one teacher at the moment because like her classes just really resonate with me. She's like this Eastern European woman. She's got this beautiful accent. She does her classes on the beach and she just hits the right pace for me and what I need. But you should know that the Yours app is so much more than just yoga instruction. They've got meditations. They've got psychology talks. They've got stories to help you sleep. They've got this huge library of chill out music to help you relax. It's all there in one app. It's convenient and it's highly affordable. The 7-day trial is completely free. And if you decide to purchase the app, they offer a 30-day money back guarantee. So there's no risk. There's no reason not to try it. And the best news of all is because this video is made in collaboration with Yours app, they're offering my audience a 60% discount. You just need to click on the link in the description box below or use code GRACE at checkout. So check out Yours app. All right, let's get back to the video.
So many women in general, when you meet them, they have a default like resting bitch face, don't mess with me attitude, and a lot of them develop that through sheer necessity because of a lot of pressure, a lot of attention they get depending on where they grew up and what the men were like. And for the most part, that's a defense mechanism that you can crack through relatively straightforwardly. And once you do, then you just get all the good, sweet, gooey feminine. And it's once you learn to do that, you start to take it much less seriously. A lot of men would see that and say, oh, no, thanks, can't go. But if you recognize it as paper thin, then you wouldn't bother you that much. You'd be like, okay, I know how this goes. And then you just pass through without much hesitation.
And women are so attracted to men who can overcome those boundaries, like crazy attracted. Every woman puts on that bitch face when they're out of the club or at the bar or whatever that says, do not approach me. And it's a very effective strategy. All the men who are insecure, who lack confidence, they see the kind of vibe she's putting out. And even if she's, good looking and dressed in a way that says, look, I'm up for fun, when they see the way her eyes just looks at him as though he's worth nothing and she hate nothing more than have to talk to you, it's only the guys who are confident enough in themselves that are going to be able to push past that. But if you can successfully seduce a woman through that phase when she throws her meanest, bitchiest, standoffishness face at you, and then you just laugh it off as though she's being like cute and dumb or whatever, and you just plow on through, you can see women switch 180 degrees completely and then just become like butter in your arms, giggling at your jokes, holding your arm, following you around the club. Like, it is crazy. Like, how did you get from one place to the other? And you realize then, and it's such an important realization that men have, that this wasn't a fixed personality that she had. This is part of her sexual mating strategy to weeding out men. The trick is you've got to be that guy to pass that test. And like, I don't know what it says about me that for this woman, I'm like, nope. When her test is that strong, I'm not interested. Whereas Matt is like, no, I'm up for it. It could speak more highly to Matt's masculinity that he's down for the challenge. Or if I was to put a really negative translation, I could say Matt feels like he has more to prove and I have less to prove. I'm more secure in myself.
Yeah, both would be reasonable things to say. I'm not going to own this as like virtuous.
Check out this woman.
Okay, I get it. I'm definitely showing my age with this video. In my generation, men were just built different. When I was 21, guys took shots of tequila, drank a case of PBR, beat the fuck out of each other, and then took turns drag racing cars. These 21-year-old kids are fighting over who got their pronouns right and which White Claw goes better with a Doritos Locos Taco Supreme.
Where are all the real men, Matt?
I would actually like to ask you, Alexander, is there a way to substantiate the claim that men are less manly these days? Is there some way we could measure that so it's not just like a stereotype that people say as they get older?
I think of it kind of as one of those levels that goes completely up and down like this. Like you can measure how little masculinity there is in the current generation of men by how much masculinity there is in women these days. And so when you've got women like this, you know, she's like tough and strong, and of course like the other woman as well, and you see so much more masculinity and sort of like brashness and toughness in women. It's like the world needs a certain amount of masculinity, and if you're not finding it in men, then the overflow is all being picked up by women. That's my perspective.
I think that is completely true. This is a gender role reversal that happens in a lot of relationships where the man will get soft, and then the women will say, I can't deal with this guy. I'm going to take over and start leading. And that's the beginning of the end for a lot of relationships, is when the roles flip and the woman starts essentially playing the role she didn't want to play because the man won't do it. Have you heard of this phrase? It's kind of like a 4-part cycle that supposedly society goes through. It's bad times make strong men make good times make weak men make bad times. It just goes in a circle like that. When things are going well, men get soft because what builds masculinity is challenge and struggle and difficulty. And when a bunch of masculine men, and competent women run society and they make society solid and everyone's got food and water and shelter and everything's going well, then everyone can relax and be soft and be kind and be kind of, flubbery. And then those people get in power, and none of them have discipline, and none of them have integrity, and none of them have strength, and so everything starts to corrode, and then it forces the next generation to say, well, now life is shitty, I have to grow strength and discipline and tenacity, and then those grow up and take over, and it's just this alternating cycle. That's kind of the essence of what that phrase is meant to get at.
I definitely think that it's true that if you were to take a bunch of men, like 10 random men and 10 random women from today's society, what you're going to find is that they have much less dichotomous masculinity and femininity because we've been cushioned by, a post like abundant sort of society that we live in here in the West. But if you were to take that same group of 20 people and strand them on a desert island, you would find the men leaning into their masculinity and the women leaning into their femininity so quickly. So there's definitely truth in what you're saying.
And this is why I love David Data's book, The Way of the Superior Man, because he's so upfront with commending society for relieving us of these constrictive need to be fully masculine and fully feminine all the time. He says it's a good thing that we're starting to meet in the middle, but it's gotten to the point where it's overkill and it's zapping all the polarity. So you need to learn to properly move back out to the proper poles in a healthy way.
What do you think is the number one reason why so many men are scared to unleash their masculinity? Why they keep hold of it?
That's a really good question. My first thought was that they're afraid that they'll be shamed for it. Like that people will accuse them of breaking boundaries that they don't deserve to break, or like being too big and imposing of a presence, and that they should become small again and stop getting in people's way.
That is 100% a true thing. It's not what I was talking of, but there's actually an ancient evolutionary instinct that says it's not safe if you're a lower member of the tribe to start acting like big and strong, because suddenly the big chieftain guy or like the alpha male is going to come along and be like, dude, know your place. Stop trying to act like Mr. Big Shot. Like, if you need a fucking lesson, I'll teach you a lesson. And so, men, we are taught to respect that hierarchy. And so if you start acting too masculine, you have that fear that other men are going to put you in your place. Just to give it a practical example, you can see why it could be dangerous. If you've got a group of 10 men working together out hunting a really dangerous animal, like a woolly mammoth or something like that, and there's one alpha guy in charge of the hunting party, and he calls the shots, who moves where, who stabs when, it could be a matter of life or death. You have to respect that hierarchy. If you've got some young upstart who's acting too big for his boots and pretending to be the leader, he needs a fucking tough lesson to get back in line and to know his place. Because if you deviate from reality and you're giving yourself airs that you haven't earned yet, it's potentially dangerous for all of us.
There is a logic to it, even if it sounds harsh. Thank you for putting it in the starker terms that I needed to recognize.
No worries. Now, do you have another prediction for what could be the biggest inhibitor, or should I just tell you?
Usually just tell me, because I do have, but I think, just give it to me.
I think men are scared of their own sexuality, which is intensely linked to their own masculinity and testosterone, and even to their violent impulses sometimes. Because here's the non-PC truth that every man knows but secretly doesn't want women to know, is that your sexuality can be fucking beastly. You know, it can be, I want all the women and I'm just gonna take it for myself. Like, there exists a part of you that's linked to that, and when you start acting really masculine, like, I am decisive, I say what I want, I go after what I want, I feel less shame, less guilt, I'm confident, I'm a leader, there's part of you that understands from a rational point of view that that could be a bit selfish, that could be a bit dangerous, that's not necessarily respecting the rights of others. And you have rightfully a little bit of shame, I think, attached to your own sexuality, in that while you're like, okay, I'm not going to feel too badly about the fact that I have these instincts, if I ever started to act on these instincts and really like violate consent or something like that, that would be a big kind of issue. And so it's almost the fear of, I don't want to open the dam a little bit lest the whole thing just kind of collapse, because we've all seen what it's like when a man is just unhinged, unashamed, just acting in a disgraceful kind of way. No one wants to be that guy, and it's going to lead to him being expelled from the tribe because he can't be trusted around other people. And so it's like fire, like masculinity can be, what did they say? Fire is like government, but it's like a wonderful, wonderful tool, but a dangerous master. Your masculinity is the same, and your testosterone is the same. It can be the most powerful, beneficial, healing force in your life that can move and create and put you in the place that you want to be, but it can also burn everything that you love and everyone around you. And I think men can feel that in their own sexuality, especially if they've spent a lot of time watching adult movies and have gone down some dark pockets of the internet. They're like, whoa, like that's a part of me. Like, you know, they're like, all right, I need to keep a lid on that. And they attach their masculinity to that.